Welcome everybody. Pastor Jacob here with my good friend Roger Jackson.
How you doing?
I'm all right. How are you?
Good.
Good. We're here today to have a conversation about something that a lot of people are having a conversation about these days, and that is about race and racism and a lot of things that are going on in our country right now. And we're not here to provide answers necessarily.
For sure.
Just here to have conversations and to hear from Roger and his experiences. And one of the things I'm primarily interested in doing is listening to Roger and hearing from him. So, Roger, I have just some questions here for you, and we can go as the conversation goes. But how are you doing in light of everything that's going on?
So, with everything that's been going on, it's been an interesting experience. This go around, it's kind of weird thinking of it as a go around, but I mean, I've taken some positives out of the way people are responding. So, in some ways, I've actually felt hopeful, and kind of trying to cling to that, but also, just anger and frustration that this is something that's continuing to go on and continue to things that we have to deal with. And I mean, for everyone, there's so much stuff going on. This is something that no one needs to be worried about. It's just mind-boggling at times, but yeah, it's weird, but I'm trying to cling on to that little bit of hope right now.
So, do you mind me asking, what are maybe some of the things that have helped you feel hopeful?
So I feel like a lot of people are responding. I feel like a lot of people are taking the steps to do at least what they feel like is right, at least as far as, creating a voice and really putting accountability on themselves. I feel like that's something I haven't noticed as much in prior times, but I feel like people are like, I've made mistakes and I should speak up and we should unite, and I just feel like I'm seeing a lot of that more. I'm seeing that a lot with churches. I'm seeing that a lot with, friends that, I've known for years, and again, not that they were, they think, I'm not racist, like,
sure,
that's good enough, which, I can understand, I can understand that. And so I feel like that, but they've really been holding themselves accountable to speak out and at least, try to create that voice for the country. So that's been something I've been clinging to.
Good. Awesome. It's good to hear that maybe a little bit of hope to cling to.
Yeah.
What's been less hopeful?
I guess this is always, at least always how, I feel about it is, and we know with media in general, but I feel like some of the narratives that are pushed are, just not helpful, and I feel like when things like this happen, you try to, find what prior things that someone might have done, or, were they doing this, and, what happened 4 or 5 years ago, which, again, doing something wrong and illegal is wrong and illegal.
Sure.
But to be able to have something like what happened to George Floyd, and to even think, not to even think to look back, but to look back at some of his past or what he's doing, and then be like, oh, okay, well, look what he did. Or, look how you guys are protesting, or look, which, again, I'm not here to say what's right and what's not, because at the same token, I don't want to see, places destroyed and communities hurt and things like that. But, there's a reason. When you're angry, you don't always react properly. When you're, anybody, when you're angry about something, it's not always, you're not always going to be like, oh, okay, let me calm down and let me look through a different lens and let me figure things out. You're angry. And some people might not react to that the best way, but there's a reason for the anger.
Right.
And that's important to realize.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I've been trying to think through too, like putting myself more in the mindset of, oh yeah, like I'm angry too. Can't imagine how someone who's had to live with the realities that African Americans and
Yeah.
people of color in general,
Yeah.
perhaps, have had to live with in our country. Like, I've never had to think that, if I used a counterfeit $20 bill or a forged check or something like
Yeah,
that,
right.
then I might end up dead.
Yeah.
Like, if that was my reality, I would be incensed.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just trying to understand. That's, again, who cares about me? But that's what I'm trying to do. So when you heard about the murder of George Floyd, what was your reaction?
So my reaction, just at face value, was okay. Kind of just thinking about past situations, like okay, like so how is this all gonna play out? You know, how is it gonna? And I don't even want to say get twisted, because like I said, there's some truth to things that people do and they need to be held accountable for it. But I was curious. I was in my head. I was thinking like, okay, how is it gonna, go forward? What kind of things are gonna get pushed and things are gonna get pushed to the side? And I was kind of gearing myself up for the officers were gonna be, not taking, accountability for what they did, and I was ready for okay, well he did this and he did this, and he was resisting arrest, and I was just kind of getting my mind ready for that.
You've heard the story before.
Yeah,
perhaps.
and again, and also I wanted to see it with my own two eyes. Like so, this is just right off hearing it. I didn't know exactly what had taken place and things like that. Obviously, the age of social media, you see that fairly quickly, and so that was so then when I saw it and saw what happened, and just the fact that happened, that someone had their knee on someone's neck and people are watching, other police officers are watching, and he is obviously saying, hey, I can't breathe, I don't, like he is pleading for his life.
Yep.
And so after that, obviously anger, and again, it's just confusion. And then as we, move forward and we're having some peaceful protests, and then we are having some people who are obviously, might not be going about it the right way, but, so then it's just now this whole narrative and everything just kind of, it goes so fast.
Mm-hmm.
And just, so sometimes then it's like, it's hard to, like, like I'm trying to like sit back and kind of, chew on it a little bit. And that's kind of something that I usually do. Like it usually takes me a while, I guess a while in social media terms now, like,
in 15 minutes,
I usually try to kind of relax and chew on it a little bit and figure out, because most of the time it's just so hard to even to formulate words and formulate feelings when something like this continues to happen.
Yeah.
And but that's when I got a lot of encouragement. That's when I started seeing people speak out, and it's like, wow, like this might be part of a change,
mm-hmm.
which is, like I said, what I'm clinging to now.
Yeah, yeah. I'm curious, just obviously George was murdered, and then there was kind of the immediate fallout, but as time has gone on, this seems to be an issue that's picking up steam,
Yeah.
or at least kind of continuing its momentum as
Yeah, I think
opposed
so.
to petering out.
Yeah.
What's your reaction to that?
I mean, like I said, it's really, again, the situation is crazy, but like it's almost refreshing to kind of see that and see people to continue to speak out, and it's not just one day. People are daily speaking on these things. I mean, I saw today, I think Nike is donating $40 million over 4 years to different organizations for that. I think Jordan just did $100 million. I don't know like how long or
Sure.
But I'm seeing a lot of, again, this is for me because I'm big into sports, but I've seen a lot of people in sports speak out. I've seen a lot of teams. I mean, the Blues have said stuff. Ryan O'Reilly has posted.
Right.
Like, so I mean, I'm seeing a lot of people saying, hey, to just not being a racist is not enough to change this. We see that. There's plenty of good people, and but that's just not enough. Like we have to do something to change it. And so that's been really good.
Yeah. So I want to get a little personal here.
Yeah.
If that's all right.
Yeah.
I mean, this is obviously, there's a situation right now, but I think one of the benefits that we have in an era of social media and just in an era of technology is we don't have to just think about the here and now, right? We can always remember what's happened in the past, and quite frankly, all of us have experiences that inform how we view things. So, what are some of the ways that you have experienced racism in your life? And you don't need to be specific with names if you don't want to.
No.
But like, what are some of the experiences that have formed how you view the world?
For sure. I mean, so I grew up in Brentwood, and that was a good time for me. I mean, I don't want to say like, I don't want to come off like that. Like I've never, it was a great place to be at. Like it wasn't, too many situations like that. But as I got older, like getting out of high school, so I used to work at a Red Lobster in Maplewood, off Hanley, and at that time, so I worked there for 5 years, and most of that time I didn't have a car. And so I would walk to work and walk home every day, and there were numerous of times where I'd be seeing somebody and they walk across the street as they saw me. I mean, so that's happened numerous times. I remember again, you're a young kid. Me and my friends used to stay out late, and we'd watch movies all night, And we go to 7-Eleven, and every time we go into 7-Eleven, 2 minutes later, an officer was in the 7-Eleven. So. I mean, there's times where you just, and sometimes you can just feel it. Like it's weird, but like you just feel uncomfortable, and you know why. It's just there,
Yeah.
It's again, like they say, like the air you breathe. Like you might not be able to see it all the time, but it's there, and so you're just dealing with that. And again, I've been blessed and getting to know a lot of people, a lot of different people, and having really close friendships and relationships with people, and so I know it's not obviously everyone, but it does affect your comfortability with reaching out or talking to certain people. Or you just don't know. I mean, again, I've never had an issue with a police officer. I've never had in my life, but there's fear though. I do fear. Like right now, Right now, I don't even have my insurance card in my glove compartment. Like I keep it on so it's something
ready to go.
I don't want them to think I don't want anyone thinking I'm reaching for anything. Like I just have my stuff right there, and so hey officer, here you go. And again, I've never dealt with that. I've never had. I mean, honestly, most of the officers that I've interacted with have been fine, great, nice people. So it's not that obviously it's a job, but the person behind it, I see good people all the time. But it's definitely something that, I worry about, my wife worries about, and unfortunately I worry about with my son and daughter, so.
Yeah, I think one of the things that was really eye-opening to me in our friendship was we used to live in the same neighborhood, and Roger's a great friend. He'd come over and take care of our animals when we're on vacation and things like that. And I just remember having a conversation with you and Kelsey one time, where Kelsey was like, I don't really want Roger to walk to my house and then home, especially at night, in our neighborhood. Not because necessarily anything had happened, but just because something could happen. And I just remember going, I walk in our neighborhood at night. Our church used to be right by our house. We'd walk, I would walk to and from church, past your house pretty consistently. And I was just struck by the realization that I never in 1,000 years would have thought, oh, I just shouldn't walk in my neighborhood after dark. But that's something that you have to think about. Maybe a little more in that particular neighborhood than other places in St. Louis, but not to throw my neighborhood under the bus, but to throw my neighborhood under the bus. But really, just the mindset, right? Is just that was really eye-opening me to realize, oh yeah, Roger has to deal with this. This is part of his life all the time.
Which is crazy because even sometimes in that situation, I don't even think about I almost forget that is something that I particularly have to worry about. I just think, oh yeah, a lot of people are worried, but it's no, I guess it is something that I have to worry about. So it's just it's crazy.
Curious now, have you ever experienced racism in the church in particular?
So I feel like I I am lucky as far as that.
Okay. It's good.
Yeah, sure. I feel like I'm good as far as that. You know, the churches that I've been to, I mean, I was at one church for pretty much since 8th grade on to, what, a year and a half ago, maybe.
18 months ago, yeah.
Yeah, so, and I've always felt welcome there and always felt welcomed by the people at the church. And, you know, it's weird, not weird, but it almost feels different now that I've progressed in ministry and like serving.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes, you know, I mean, there was a chunk of time where church for me was just go on Sunday morning and go home, you know, like,
yeah.
So, you know, maybe that had something to do with it as far as that, but I mean, as I've, you know, started serving and really, you know, getting involved, like I've always felt welcome at the churches that I've attended and been a part of.
Good.
So
Good. That's encouraging to me to hear, for me, because I know that's a lot of the conversations I'm involved in now are, hey, what are we doing as a church that overtly or covertly, you know, conveys racist overtones to folks, and that's one of the things I really want to be aware of, especially as we plan to rise.
Yeah.
Very important that I think we think about race, we're able to talk about race. I think, you know, this is a huge part of the conversations we've had as we've talked about Arise and what it means to equip the saints for the work of ministry. It's being able to think rightly and have conversations with people and love people even amidst these difficult and these tense conversations that we have.
Sure. It definitely has to be something comfortable. Like, it has to get to a point where, as a church, you can discuss these things. It doesn't. Obviously, I know it's hard because you're representing a lot of people, obviously, but it has to be something that you don't shy away from. It's stuff that needs to be discussed, needs to be talked about.
Yeah. And that's quite frankly why we're here, right?
Yeah.
I mean, as the beginning of a conversation about, you know, something that's really important and is going to continue to be really important in our culture and in our world and in our church. And that's one of the many reasons I'm honored to have Roger as a friend, is your willingness to talk and to help those of us who just don't live in your world understand a little bit better. So, as a white pastor of a white church in a largely white community, which is true here in Afton, is going to be true here in Fenton as well.
For sure.
What can I do? What can I do to help combat racism in our community, in our church, in myself? What are some things I can be doing?
I mean, I think you're doing, you and Rooftop, and I would assume Arise as we get there, are doing very well, in my opinion. I think, again, which has been part of the, you know, the hope I've been clinging to, like, seeing a lot of stuff from the Journey lately. They've been doing the thing, you know, I'm listening, or I forgot what the hashtag is, but, you know, they're speaking out on it. And I think, you know, that's what is going to help with that, as far as you as a white pastor and, you know, as a church that is based off and planting in a predominantly white area, is just being, it's really just going to be kind of, you know, looking at it through a different lens. And I feel like that, granted, I feel like that for me too, you know, like, I feel like, you know, there's parts where we need to understand that it would be hard. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of cultures that I wouldn't have any idea why they do this, or what they're going through, or, you know, why if I take my shoes off in your house, why that would offend, you know, like, or whatever it is. Like, so that's going to be an issue. So, you know, I think me as an African American, I need to understand that as well. And but yeah, just keeping that dialogue, and like I said, just not shying away from it. Not saying you have to, you know, stump your foot down and be like, okay, this is what, it doesn't matter, this is what we believe, this is how we feel, but it just has to not be avoided and be conversated and just continuing, which I feel like, you know, that's important in church anyway. We always talk about that, things that we might put in our bylaws, or we might do this way, you know, but it's always, okay, but we can continue to discuss that and see what, you know, maybe will be led a different way, maybe God will tell us something, maybe we'll hear something, maybe we'll learn something. So it's always keeping the dialogue open and listening and just trying to, you know, figure things out together. I mean, again, it's not like it's going to be an easy fix, or okay, bam, let's just do this and, you know, we're good. It's going to take time, it's going to take work, it's going to take commitment, and you know, that's all you can really ask for. That's
A, good to hear, and B, I'm glad, you know, I think when people encounter a problem, so many of us want to do something
Yeah.
to fix it. And one of the things I've learned over the years is approaching problems with a fix-it mentality. Sometimes, in fact, oftentimes doesn't work.
Yeah.
There's a conversation to be had. There's back and forth, and there's learning and listening and being willing to do the hard work. It takes time.
Yeah.
Things that matter take time.
Yeah.
So I'm glad we get to start that process.
Yeah. Oh, what I'm saying, and it's so much like that as far as kind of that time it takes, and really being with people when they're mourning or when they're happy. Because I mean, at the end of the day, like I'm angry that this is an issue.
Yeah.
And it's hard, like I don't know, like I've broken down mentally a few times this week, and it's just like it's so frustrating. And like you said, you do want to have that I just want it to be fixed mentality, and it's so hard when you are angry. Like it's just exhausting.
Yeah.
Like it really is. And so, like you said, that knowing that it's going to take time, and just kind of really trying to, and I know I've been saying this a lot lately, but really trying to understand and really just trying to kind of get that communication. That's really going to be important, but it's just hard. I feel like what I'm trying to say, like I feel like right now it's going to be a little kind of, you got to play it by ear almost. Just I feel like so many people are angry and hurt and frustrated, and so it's just a hard thing to navigate right now.
Yeah. And I think in my head, at least, on the flip side, we need to recognize conversations and things that are important take time, but also, one of the things I've heard, and it's very frustrating to me, is, oh, well, we had the civil rights movement back in the 60s, so, right, I mean, and we fought the Nazis back in the 40s. That doesn't mean that we stop opposing tyrannical governments and rooting out white supremacy wherever you find it, right? Like,
for sure.
Like, evil is a reality in our world, and every time evil rears its head, as Christians, we have a duty to oppose evil because we serve a God who is good. And so, I've had some conversations with people where it's like, this is not as big of an issue as we say it is, and it seems like it is.
Yeah.
It certainly appears that way to me, and to say, hey, we did something about this 60 years ago doesn't seem like an acceptable thing to say, oh, well, we just don't need to worry about this now.
For sure.
The fact that progress is being made does not mean we are where we need to be. So you had a birthday this past week, and I'm usually not a big fan of the birthday fundraisers on Facebook. I'm gonna be honest. Just maybe it's my cynicism.
Yeah.
Maybe it's how I actually typically don't like virtue signaling just as a thing. But you chose an organization to support, and it looks like you've had pretty good success with the organization. Would you mind telling us a little bit about what happened?
Yeah. So I usually do Autism Speaks. I have two nephews that have autism, and I love them with all my heart. And so usually I try to do that. That's usually what I do. But I thought in the light of everything that was going, I would do something that I've heard Matt talk about a lot. I know that's something that Matt Hearn, the pastor at Rooftop, that he donates to the Justice Equality Initiative. And so I was like, what, I think that would be a good thing to do. And I was like, and usually, I just let it go at the base, whatever, it suggests or whatever. So I think it was $250. And I mean, I feel like I, turned my head and I looked back and it was like $275. And I was like, oh wow. So I just, kept bumping it up. And I think we're up to like $1,500 almost right now. That's
awesome. It's great.
And so and again, another, really big encouragement. And seeing a lot of people are posting organizations that, hey, if you don't feel comfortable doing this or you don't feel comfortable doing that, here's some organizations that you can donate to, and that are trying to make a difference. And so I think that was that was actually also something that was really good to see when I mean, that was all in a day, so that was pretty crazy.
It's great. And we'll link to them wherever this video is so that we can continue to support the good work that they're doing.
Yeah.
That's great. One final question for you. So here in Afton, tomorrow, there is a protest
Yeah.
scheduled. Always curious, what are your thoughts on protests? Their value, their, have you ever been a part of one? Are you thinking about coming tomorrow? Those sorts of things. Like, I'm always curious, because to me, when there's something I want to support, I consider going to support it.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, I think COVID maybe changes the dynamics a little bit, but I'm curious. Well, what are your thoughts on some of the protests we have here in St. Louis?
I think protest is good. I mean, obviously it's a right that, we have, so I mean, I think that's important in general to exercise your rights. I mean, not that it's the same, but like, we have the right to vote, I think you should vote, like, things like that. So I mean, I think from that perspective alone, I think it's useful, and it's something that I think you should do if you feel passionate about something. I think it is a good tool to, be heard. It's hard to, obviously I know it can get into different things, but I think the act of protesting is a very good thing to do. I have not attended one yet, but I'm hoping to. I actually was thinking about I wanted to come to the one here tomorrow, but birthday, we have
Birthday stuff.
and then again, like you said, with the coronavirus, I don't know. Yeah, it's just
how wise it is to be in large groups of people.
But I think it's very, very useful. I think it's very powerful. I think uniting as a group of, especially when it's a group of different people, I think there's something to be said about that act and how it affects people visually. I mean, even just seeing about when you see a crowd full of people that you can tell just in one thing, one body almost. Like I think that says something.
Yeah. Great. So, thanks for being willing to talk with us.
No problem.
Share your heart.
Sure.
Thanks for giving us an opportunity to listen. Something we all need to continue to work on, but thanks for coming to share. Is there any final words you wanna say?
I mean, honestly, like we've been saying, I think just the act of listening and trying to for us all to try to gain an understanding and just loving each other. I mean, I know it's easy to say, but obviously that's what God commanded us to do no matter what, is to love each other, love our neighbor. And, a lot of it starts with building that in your heart. And I mean, I think leaning on God's word as far as that is very, very helpful. Probably that should be where you start as far as making any kind of change. So.
Thanks, Roger. Appreciate it as always.